All right, what's up, Giants, Ravens, NFL, and even maybe some WWE fans, I hope, in the chat. How y'all doing? Welcome into another episode of the Just Chillin' podcast with my second official guest. Oh no, third official guest actually, IngravenVids from IngravenVids channel. As his name says, his links are in the description below to Twitter, Instagram, and of course the YouTube channel. First and foremost, thank you, Ingraven, for coming on, man. And before I try and butcher an introduction for yourself, for those of you that don't know you, man, who are you? What do you do on YouTube, and what other platforms can they find you on?
Oh yeah, I'm IngravenVids. Appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you for that. My channel, IngravenVids, Team Keep It Clean. I'm a Ravens fan, and we talk a lot of Ravens on there. But we also talk just football, period. So no matter what team you're a fan of, no matter who you like, who you dislike, whatever, everybody is welcome to the channel, and everybody feel free to stop by. And also my Instagram, Twitter, everything is IngravenVids. All one word, all spelled the same. And this team keep it clean. Appreciate it, man.
See, now he made it simple with everything being IngravenVids. I tried to do that, but for some reason the hub underscore YT is taken on multiple platforms, so I had to change it up. And then on Instagram, it's like the hub underscore YouTube, and it's just not as clean as I would like it to be. What's up to Jack Latch in the chat? Ligma, how you doing? One of my mods, longtime mod for the channel. So before we actually get into NFL talk, one thing I always wanted to ask you, what is Team Keep It Clean and how did it come about?
Team Keep It Clean is just the channel being family friendly content, man. It's for everybody. Everybody is welcome, whether they're young or old. Cause on there I don't curse on there. Well, I don't curse in real life either, but on the channel I don't curse on there, and it's 1000% clean. So nobody, like, if a kid is watching it and their parents come in the room, they could be watching it out loud. They don't have to turn it down or put on the headphones because the parents ain't gonna want them watching like cursing stuff or whatever. And then of course for older people too. It's just for everybody, man. So like I said, basically just family friendly content.
Exactly, I can definitely respect it. I try to keep my channel like that as well. What's up to Devin Dukes? He says Engraven sent me. I hope more people do tune in. And as you guys tune in, we're eventually going to get to a Q&A section of the podcast later on. The watchers know how it goes. Share the vid out, all of that. So the first thing I wanted to get into, Engraven. What is up, Gamer God? He says Engraven in the house in all caps. I'm assuming he's shouting it out to the rooftops. Sports influencer, what is up? So first thing I want to ask you, kind of a general NFL related question, and honestly I think, I don't know if it's exactly still a relevant topic, but it's going to be in the future. Patrick Mahomes and his massive contract, man. When you first saw it, what was your immediate reaction? Not after you got to collect your thoughts or whatnot. When you first saw the number, when you first saw it was 10 years, and before we found out eventually it was going to be $500 million, with incentives, of course, we still knew it was going to be at least $400 million. What was your immediate reaction?
Well, when I first saw that it was a 10-year deal, I'm like, hold up, don't nobody sign 10-year deals anymore. I haven't seen a 10-year deal in forever. I don't even remember the last time I saw a 10-year deal. The last one I can think of off the top of my head was Michael Vick in Atlanta, but
yeah, I can't remember the last 10-year deal. The last like just long deal I remember was Albert Hainsworth, and I can't even remember how many years that was.
Yeah, I don't even remember either. And the other last 10-year deal came from a coach with John Gruden. But I was just like, okay, well, this is when they said that it was a 10-year deal or 10-year extension, I was like, okay, we knew it was gonna be crazy. And with Patrick Mahomes, since he was lined up to get paid, everybody, especially after he won the Super Bowl, it was like, oh, this dude, there's some quarterbacks when they get their money just because they're free agents and the timing. They haven't won the Super Bowl. Some even haven't won a playoff game or whatnot. But with Patrick Mahomes, you knew that he was gonna just destroy the market, whatever it was gonna be, and it was gonna be some astronomical deal that just didn't even make sense almost. So we first started hearing reports and stuff, seeing all these different news articles and stories coming out that said it's gonna be over $400 million, and I was like, oh boy, that's wow.
That's a lot.
That's crazy. Yeah. And then, like 30 minutes or an hour later, it saw it's gonna be over $450 million. I'm like, oh boy. So I was like, you know what? Usually with contracts, when you initially hear about them, they all sound crazy. But then you got to look at the guarantees, because the guarantees are what's the most important thing of the contract is. Because somebody could have a $100 million contract and only have $10 million guaranteed. So that other $90 million, it won't even matter.
Did they release how much was guaranteed, by the way?
It was, I know he has 100, I think 140 or 150 mil guaranteed for injury. And then just the way that I forgot all the guarantees on it, but I know he has like all this crazy language in there where he can get
crazy bro. The contract was like what, 113 pages long or something like that.
117 pages.
17,
long.
Okay.
It's crazy. He gets like a mil, 1.25 mil if he makes the AFC Championship, and then another 1.25 mil every year he makes the Super Bowl. He can get 2 years in advance of his contract guaranteed. So like this is getting ready to be 2020. If he already had this contract, if it was in place, then he could get like 2021 and 2022 guaranteed this year. It's a lot of craziness. I gotta look over it again, but I just I knew it was gonna be wild. And then it came out that the deal is worth up to $503 million, and I was like, wow. Like we never heard of anything like that before,
it's like,
especially in football. I know baseball, they have these crazy
exactly.
Football, it was like, man.
When I saw the $503 million number, at first I was like, all right, that kind of makes sense. I was doing the math in my head, even though I know it's technically not $50 million a year. I was like, all right, that's kind of like $50 million a year. But then I said it out loud. I actually said the number out loud, and it clicked in my head, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's not even 25 yet. And just from the NFL, he has the potential to make $500 million. God knows how much he's making off of the Madden sponsor. God knows how much he's making off of Nike and local Kansas City sponsors. It's like crazy to think the amount of money he's going to be making. And what's up to Dana Kennedy in the chat? Nothing much, bro. This is the first. Yeah, this is the first topic we addressing. And Gamer God with the question I was gonna ask Ingraven next. Of course, why I started off with the Patrick Mahomes question. We're gonna get to that in a second. But yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, $503 million, and then it clicked in my head. I'm like, Christ, man. Like, how much of that do you think he's actually gonna earn? Because all the incentives you just talked about.
Yeah, you're not gonna get to the Super Bowl every year or the AFC Championship every year, but I think he's gonna get there quite a few times. But it all just depends. It's really hard to say because he has a total of 12 years remaining on his deal now. So to expect him to be in the AFC Championship or Super Bowl 12 straight years, I mean, that's pretty much impossible. And then you have to think about the team that's going to be around him too, because with his deal, once it kicks in, then it's going to make it a little bit harder for the Kansas City Chiefs to build around him. But they have been a team that's been really good at drafting and developing, so they have that on their side. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Exactly.
How much do I think that he's going to get of that money?
I think we both expect them to revisit the contract maybe 4 or 5 years down the line. I think that might happen.
That's how it usually goes with those longer contracts. Like, even if it's just a 6-year deal, usually teams will usually what they do, even though I don't think they did it with this one, since it has those like crazy incentives and crazy like rules and stuff and language. What teams usually do, if it's just to use a 6-year contract as example, they will they'll sort of do crazy like backloads on the contract. Like the first 3 years, the cap hits won't be anything crazy, and then the last 3 years, the cap hits will be wild. But then they'll be like, oh, you know what? We'll actually revisit it then, and then we can do like a restructure. We can do another extension, and we could like move some money around. So, but Patrick Mahomes, we'll see, man.
Exactly. Now I actually thought it was, I thought it was kind of fair. I was like, you know what, this is fair to both sides, especially because I'm keeping in mind what you said. When the cap hits get crazy for any team, no matter contract length, they're gonna revisit it. I was like, it's pretty fair as of right now, even though the numbers seem just way out of the world. Do you think it was fair on either side?
Well, yeah, it does seem like it's a flat deal, and it doesn't seem to be a fluctuating deal. It doesn't seem like a deal that's gonna be like on a rising thing. Everything is like seems like it's pretty much straightforward. So Patrick gets his money. It's a lot of his money, and that's like you said earlier. That's just his NFL money. He still got endorsements and all that stuff on the side too. And the Chiefs, it does put them in a position, since they 9 times out of 10 they're gonna know how much he has to get paid the following year. Like if he ends up making the AFC Championship, like I said, that 1.25 mil for the AFC Championship for the Super Bowl, I'm sure they will have no problem paying him that, because that would mean that they made it there. But it doesn't like blindside the Chiefs or anything like that. So it puts them in a good position to where they can plan around it. So I think it was actually good on both sides.
All right, and oh Jesus, sports influencer, are you serious? Is this like, did this come out today? Is that like technically breaking news? I don't know how much you know about the DeAndre Baker situation with the Giants Ingraven. How much do you know about it? Yeah. All right. So first of all, listen, man. If that's actually true, his career is done. I don't see, because I was, and it's sad because I was on the side of Baker from the moment the news came out. I was like, yo, listen, we should not overreact, because I remember a couple years ago, Janoris Jenkins, when he was with the Giants in 2018. The body, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And people were freaking out. They're like, oh my God, we got a murderer on the team. Turns out it was like his brother or something like that, and they stashed it at his house. So I was like, let's calm down. Can't be Baker. And then each day that went forward, the lawyer had to be doing a great job at this point, because it just made it seem like Baker had a wall of evidence. Like even from the thing about him playing Madden over there and EA servers having him logged in at the time. And then there's like the phone call to the police was made 2 hours after the incident with that. I'm like, alright, this man's gonna get off, bro. He looks innocent. I was like, he was a troubled kid when it came to like falling asleep in practices and whatnot, but he's not a stupid human being that's about to go rob somebody for like $70K when he's earning tens of millions of dollars in the NFL. He paid, and for those of you that didn't see the comment, Sports Influencer says he paid $55,000 to all these people that came forward and said he didn't do it, to say that he didn't do it. If that's true, his career is over, and the Giants are really in a bind for a number 2 cornerback right now.
Yeah, the way I see it, we'll see. We just gotta wait and see. Something that I've learned the hard way at times too, like you said, we can't just jump the gun with the first thing that we hear about whatever the story might be, man. We just gotta wait a little bit long, especially stories like that. Gotta wait a little bit longer, wait for more facts to come out. And yeah, it's a crazy story. Something still seems a little bit fishy about it to me with just the whole thing.
What exactly about it? Because for me, the entire situation makes no sense. Just to be completely, like, nothing about it makes no sense.
Right. I agree, because these are 2 football players. They're making good money in the NFL. Now something that Pat McAfee said that did make sense. Regardless if you're making a lot of money in the NFL or not, or making a lot of money period or not, he said he thinks that they might have lost like a poker game, or they might have lost some money doing something, and they wanted to get it back. So because for some people, regardless of how much money you're making, if you lose a chunk of that money, you're still gonna want to get it back. So who knows, man? I don't even know what to think about this story, man.
Jesus, and it sucks because I was like one of the only Giants dudes on here that was like vehemently defending Baker, because I'm like, he's a young, I hate to call him a kid because he's an adult, but I'm like, he's a young adult, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, I just wanted to defend him. Maybe it's the Giants bias in me, and I'm like, I don't want to see this dude go to jail. I want his career to end early. And Sports Influencer says it's not confirmed yet, but then Harrison Jolly said the DMs are out, there's video evidence. Oh. It's everywhere. All right. Like, this is evidence that's coming out. I'm wondering now how the evidence is coming out. Like, this is thinking about the other lawyer, because Baker's lawyer's been doing a good job. I guess the other lawyers out here, I don't know. It took a while, because up until now, it really seemed like he was going to get off.
Yeah, that's what it was looking like, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see, man.
Jesus, man. I mean, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I don't know. For something to happen. That would really put us in a bind, because there's no.
He was the first round draft pick, 2 years ago, right?
Just last year.
Last year.
Yeah, and then it's not even like he had anything going for him on his side. He struggled last year in his rookie year. The dude, like, he performed horribly. He performed like a 5th round pick rather than a 1st round pick. He was falling asleep in meetings. And according to some teammates, he wasn't really a good teammate. He seemed lost and all that. And I'm just like, all right, maybe he's just taking some time to adjust. I'm thinking of all the excuses in the world, and now this stuff comes out, man. Jesus.
Hey, well, maybe that's why he was so tired, because he was in the game. He had a game that he wasn't on the side.
Oh my God.
But yeah, we'll see, man.
Well, yeah, I will see. I'm probably gonna make a video on that tomorrow. Let's get to the to the Gamer God question, which was gonna be my next question for you. If Mahomes gets that big contract, what in the world is Lamar Jackson's contract gonna look like? And before Lamar Jackson, I think Deshaun is gonna be the next person up. So if you want to even say what you think Deshaun Watson's contract is gonna look like, are we gonna see another long 10-year deal? I really don't expect that. I think Mahomes was like kind of like a once in a blue moon type of thing. And to be honest with you, the only person I would even consider giving a 10-year deal to is to Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the best quarterback in the league and all that. With Deshaun and Lamar, they're definitely in my top 5, but I don't think I'm giving them 10 years deals yet. Because it goes back to what you said earlier. Mahomes already won the Super Bowl. He already got the MVP and all that. So what are you seeing for these two guys?
It all just depends on their success. I know Watson. Is this the last year of his deal? Because I know he wasn't the first. He was a second round pick, I believe.
No, he was a first round pick.
He was first?
Yeah, him, Trubisky, and Mahomes all went in the first round.
I thought he was a second round pick.
Because he was the third quarterback out of 3 of them, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, I'm tripping. But with Watson and Lamar, I think a lot just depends on their performance, and what they're able to accomplish. I love both of them. Obviously Lamar, because I'm a Ravens fan, but Deshaun Watson, I love Deshaun Watson. I love how he plays. And I just, one thing that I'm worried about for him, which sucks, is that they gave away their best receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. So now things are going to be a lot different for him, but I think he'll still end up being fine.
Texans offensive line, you think it's fixed? Do you think it needs a little bit more?
It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say, but with Deshaun Watson, the thing with him, it's like a gift and a curse.
He works magic, man. He works magic in that pocket.
He does, but that magic can turn into a curse, and I would say 2 seconds, but it's more like 10 to 11 seconds, because sometimes he'll be waiting to make that big play, but he'll be holding the ball for so long, and then he'll end up taking a sack, getting hit or whatever. But I don't see anybody else getting a 10-year deal. I think maybe like it'll get back to the normal amount, the normal length of the deals, which will be like 5 years. Yeah, something around there, like 5 years. So I think when Lamar does get paid, when Deshaun Watson gets paid, they'll just be 4 or 5 year deals. Because that's one thing that I noticed too, man, that a lot of these deals, just in free agency period, not only with quarterbacks, but just free agency period, a lot of these deals are getting shorter and shorter. And like when I really noticed that, it was when Kirk Cousins, when the Redskins finally let him become a free agent, and the Vikings signed him to that. It was a 3-year deal, and I'm like, whoa, a free agent quarterback signed into a 3-year deal, and it was fully guaranteed. And I think people are doing that. Players are doing that because they want to hit the market again, especially if they're young. They want to hit the market again because they see that the cap has been rising and rising and rising, and that salaries have been rising and rising and rising, and they still want to be a part of that again. They want another chance, another shot at another big payday. So it's like, why would I sign this long-term deal to where I'm stuck, I'm locked in to that deal for so long when I could just sign a shorter deal? Yeah, the guarantees will probably be a little higher, but it'll be shorter. And then you can hit the market again and then get paid all over again. So
that's true. I think that also plays into why everybody was so surprised when Mahomes did come out with a 10-year contract, because the deals for all positions and really were getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And man, listen, do you think Lamar is going to be the first $50 million quarterback? Because Deshaun, with the way, maybe the trend is not there anymore because of what Mahomes did, but I think it's expected that Deshaun might get, in terms of a per year basis, a little bit higher than what Mahomes got, and then Lamar would get more higher than what Deshaun got. Is $50 million out the question, or what's happening?
I don't think he would be. And that, I'm not saying that based off of his play or based off of how I feel he's going to play in the future. I say that because I don't think that Lamar Jackson would be a quarterback that would try to hinder his team at all. He still don't want to get paid, because that's what everybody should do in their job, whatever their job might be. If you earned it, hey, go get it. But at the same time, obviously, NFL player's job is a lot different, and he's somebody else that he got plenty of endorsements too. I don't know if he has as much as Mahomes, I doubt it, But
Oh, he's getting there though, especially after he got the Madden cover.
It's out there now.
Yeah.
It's really out there. So with Lamar Jackson, I think that he would do something to where he's taken care of, but at the same time, the team is taken care of too. So however they structure that, whether it's a 3-year extension, and it's where the cap hit, where he gets some nice guarantees, but the cap hit isn't anything too crazy, and they can still manage to add this player and that player and re-sign this player and that player. I just don't think he's gonna do anything that's going to hinder the Ravens at all.
Man, I'll tell you what. I hope you're right, because that's the one thing I've been thinking about with all quarterback deals recently. I'm like, Jesus, man, these guys keep taking more and more money, and I know they got sponsorship, so it's not like I don't like to call players greedy, because I get where they're coming from. You're playing probably one of the most dangerous sports in the world. You want job security, and you want financial security. Yeah. But I'm like, you already got mad money coming in from other resources, and your team is gonna struggle. There has been no quarterback in NFL history when they're being paid, I think, like more than 14 or 15% of the cap, which is what a lot of quarterbacks are being paid now. None of them have ever even won or been to a Super Bowl. The only quarterback that's...
I thought Eli did it, right?
Eli did it. I think he was over 11%, though, not 15. That's the next point I was going to bring up. I think Eli was over 11%. If there's somebody in the chat that correct me on that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro? Number 10, the GOAT. We could get into that later. Playoff Eli versus playoff Flacco. Because I saw it on one of your recent videos talking about playoff Flacco. I was like, man, listen. Anyway, but I was like, yeah, the only quarterback to do it when they're earning like a substantial percentage of the cap was Eli. But everybody else not really come close. So I hope you're right on Lamar. And then even though DJ just had 1 year in the NFL, I hope that he has a good career. I'm not convinced yet. I got to see more from Daniel Jones. I would hope he has a similar mindset of, I'm not trying to take this much to where the team is going to be suffering. I mean, with quarterbacks in general, what do you see happening there? Are QBs going to really start taking this much, or are they going to get a little bit more conscious?
I think it would. I don't know, man, because it's a tricky situation. It's a really tricky question because I understand exactly where you're coming from. Because yeah, we wish the QB market could be reset, but it could be reset way lower because that would change the game a lot, and that would allow. But at the same time, that would allow less parity. Because the NFL, they love parity, they love the turnover, they love how, okay, if you're going to pay this person, well, hey, somebody else, they got to go. And now this gives another team over here a chance to grab that person that was good on your team. Now they can add them to their team and help them out. So somebody who might have been a sorry team last year, now they add a couple of players who couldn't get paid from their teams, and now they're in the playoffs. But with the QB market, it gets uglier and uglier every year. And the fact that it is the market price is what's getting a lot of these guys paid. So it's probably a lot of people who end up just playing football their whole lives and being quarterbacks because they may see this. They're like, oh, hold up, quarterbacks getting paid like that? Okay, you know what? Let me hop on that wave.
Even backup QBs are getting a good amount in terms, like when you when I say good amount, I mean considering what normal people earn, they're getting a couple million a year.
Yeah. Yeah, the backup QB is getting taken care of, and also, I just I don't see it going down anytime soon. I think there may be some people here and there that, like I said, I think Lamar could end up being one of those people. We'll see when the time comes, but he could end up being one of those people that end up still making a lot of money, but not resetting the market, or kind of resetting the market in a better way, to where it gets a little better for the team and whatnot. But I don't think everybody would follow suit if that happened. So,
yeah, because we already had an example of it in Brady, who took pay cuts, who took less pay because he was getting from other sources. Of course, a lot of people bring up that Giselle was earning a lot of money, but I'm like, realistically speaking, he was getting just money from TB12, his brand, and just the brand of Tom Brady is going to bring in a lot of money. You talk about 6-time champ and whatnot. What's up to Chill D in the chat? C Iron Addict, or G-Men for life, and what happened?
Okay, yes, C Iron Addict. That's my guy Carlo, man.
Ah, bet, okay. And Sports influencer with another question here. I'm gonna get down to everybody's comments eventually. Right now, guys, I kind of have it stuck on one part because I'm gonna try and get to everybody's comments. Sports influencers, good question. He said, "Who has a better wide receiving core, the Giants or the Ravens? Both are not great, but at the same time, not bad." So, I think we could both make good cases for both of our teams because that's the team we really observe and analyze. So I guess Engraven, what's the case for the Ravens? Unless surprising you if you say the Giants.
Well, with the Ravens, there's a lot of unproven talent there. It's like, ooh, it's kind of sad and sort of tricky at the same time. Our best receiver last year was a rookie who was hurt in Hollywood Brown. He was our best receiver last year. And now he's healthy, fully healthy. He added some weight, added some muscle, but he still got the same speed. So I'm looking forward to him doing some great things.
Did he have an injury history before his injury last year?
Yeah, just last year.
Okay, then.
But we just drafted 2 receivers, Devin Duvernay and James Prochet, who are known for not dropping the ball. We have Willie Snead, slot receiver. He's been around the league a little while. He's still young though. Miles Boykin, he was a rookie last year. Now he'll be in his second year, but he didn't really do much last year. He has the frame, he has the body, but just hasn't been proven yet. And he didn't get many opportunities last year either. But he's a really good blocker though. So with our wide receiver group, a lot of it's really unproven as a whole. But the thing with that, who are the Giants wide receivers?
Before I get to that, I want to say it's funny. Miles Boykin and James Prochet, respectively, in last year and this year's draft were 2 receivers I wanted the Giants to draft. I wanted Miles Boykin a lot last year because I love what I saw. How he dealt with his size. I thought he was a good. I think with Giants fans, we want a big body wide receiver. We haven't had that in a long, long time. Just like a nice big target. And I was like, Boykin, he seems good. I don't know what round he went last year, but when I was doing mock drafts, I had him in like the 4th. Okay, he went 3rd. And Prochet for this year, exactly what you said. He had very safe hands. I really wanted him on the team. But the Giants wide receivers, if we can stay healthy, I would be extremely confident in calling them maybe a top 15, top 10 group in the league. You got Golden Tate, the veteran, who has extremely... Yeah. Tate has...
Sterling Shepard too, right?
And Sterling Shepard, right? So Golden Tate has some of the safest hands I've ever seen in any receiver. Last year he had like a bobble catch against the Patriots that went for a touchdown and a crazy one-hander against the Cowboys. Both games we lost, but Tate did show out. But he had really safe hands. He was suspended last year, though, so he missed 4 games. So it's like if it's not an injury, it's something else. He was suspended last year, didn't get to play the full season. Sterling Shepard, who had concussions, multiple concussions within 2 weeks, so he was out for a good amount of time, and he really seemed like he might retire at one point during the season because he was so concerned for his health. And Shepard, when healthy, I think is a very underrated possession and route running receiver in the league. But I really love him in the slot. Shows some signs on the outside. And then Darius Slayton, I think probably the most underrated rookie wide receiver out of last year's class. He led all rookie wide receivers in the NFL in terms of touchdowns. And he had around 700 yards receiving, but he led NFL rookies in touchdowns. Kind of like broke out of nowhere because he was a 5th-round pick coming out of Auburn that all he had to him was speed. He couldn't catch a ball to save his life. Somehow, some way, the Giants coaching staff kind of, I guess, fixed that for him, and he had safe hands now. Hopefully, he was another person that was also injured last year. So with the Giants wide receiving core, it's like the depth. I mean, the first starting 3, if they could stay healthy or at least stay on the field. At the same time, I'm confident that we have a top half, top 16, top 15 core. But below them, I'm going to be completely honest with you, the depth is not there. They need to find some depth. I mean, we got Corey Coleman, who was another dude that's injury prone as a depth piece. We got like special teams guy as special teams. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of split on what to really expect from the wide receiving core this year.
Yeah, and the reason I asked who the Giants wide receivers are is because I just didn't. Besides Sterling Shepard, I forgot that they had Golden Tate. But it sounds like the Giants wide receivers, at least their top 2, they are veteran guys. Well, I know Sterling Shepard's still pretty young, so I guess he's like almost a veteran, whatever. But they're more proven guys than the Ravens. But with the Ravens, with their style of play and the type of offense they run, since it's not just your ordinary walk in the park offense, they showed it last year. They don't need the best of the best at wide receiver. They can still get the job done since they were heavy run team. But you still do want quality receivers when they need to be called on, because it's crazy because all throughout the year with the receivers that we had, it wasn't anything special, but and they were able. I can't even say they were able to get by because they went 14-2. They lost 2 games, but then in the playoffs, everybody seemed to get the dropsies for some reason, except Hollywood, except the injured rookie wide receiver. So that's why they drafted Duvernay, and that's why they drafted a Prochet, because they didn't want people to be dropping the ball. So I would probably say that Giants have from what we know, since there's a lot of there's more questions than answers with it right now. But I would say Giants have the better receivers right now based off of what we know.
It comes down to what you said. They're just, as of right now, they're just more proven. That's what it comes down to. But who knows what could happen during the season. I will say, though, I'm really excited for Darius Slayton because he was somebody that surprised all Giants fans last year. Hopefully he could break into something. And Bronx B Squad, I'm truly sorry for that, bro. I say this to all my subs, man. My DMs are open on Twitter and Instagram if you want to talk about it, bro. You know what, guys, go over there to Bronx B Squad's channel and show him some love, man. But yo, if you want to chat after the stream, I'm down, bro. I always am. And what is up to Edward Chan turning into the stream, another one of my great supporters, and Charles Hines saying we in here. All right, so
Charles, what's up, Charles?
Charles, I'm guessing a good supporter of Ingraven's channel. Once again, any of my guys in here that don't know about Ingraven, go into the description, click on the link, and subscribe to his channel. Show him some love. So Ingraven, who is from the wide receivers you drafted this year, out of Duvernay and Prochet, who are you looking forward to the most, or who do you expect to have a better season if given the chance?
I think Duvernay. I think that he'll end up taking over for that slot role, not this year, but certainly next year. But I do think they're going to get both of them involved some way, somehow. But I think on offense, I think Duvernay is going to get more opportunities than James Prochet. But I think they're both going to get in the mix a little bit, but I think Duvernay is going to get a little bit more.
Okay, I was going to say Duvernay as well. I think Duvernay is also a bit bigger than Prochet, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like a running back and receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know about Slayton too much, or?
No, I don't.
I was gonna ask any expectations for him, but yeah, definitely big expectations for him. Bronx B Squad, I'll Discord, my guy, Discord then. So next thing I was gonna ask is, what are your expectations for Lamar this year? Are you expecting him to really go back out there and have a season like he did last year, or is it gonna calm down a little bit, or is what is it? Is it gonna calm down? Is it gonna be something between what he did his rookie year and last year? What's happening with Lamar? What do you see for him?
I think with Lamar Jackson, my expectation is that he throws more touchdowns than he did last year, but also throws more interceptions. Because with Lamar Jackson, he threw 36 touchdowns or 6 interceptions last year, and he did that and missed 9 quarters of action. He missed 2 games and 1 quarter of action, and that's because in those games, there was one game where he sat out in week 17. But all the other quarters that he missed was because they were blowing the teams out. So he didn't even need to be out there anymore. But so I do expect him to take another step forward. And again, something that I have to remember myself and a lot of other people have to remember too when speaking about Lamar Jackson, whether good or bad, doesn't matter. But when speaking about Lamar Jackson, you have to remember that this will only be his 3rd year in the NFL. It'll only be his 2nd year starting an entire season. And when you think about that, it's like, wow, that's crazy. To go from what he looked like as a rookie, to go from that to in those 8-9 games he played as a rookie to turn into the MVP the very following season. It's been a beautiful thing, and I think that he hasn't reached his prime yet. He hasn't reached his ceiling yet, and he's still got a long ways to go. But just his mindset seems to be that he's definitely gonna do everything that he can to get there, man.
Exactly. I think I said it earlier, but the comparison to Mahomes is a very valid one, especially what you said. Same thing with Patrick last year, going into his third year, but only second year starting. MVP his first full year starting. There's a lot of parallels there, which is why my next thing was going to be Super Bowl expectations. I really do, in my personal opinion, I have high Super Bowl expectations for the Ravens. I do expect them to go there. Whether or not they make and whether or not they actually win it, I mean to say, but I expect them to make it there is a different situation. But I personally have high expectations for the Ravens this year. Not surprised if it plays out once again the parallel to Mahomes, where they go there in Mahomes' third year, they win it. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I definitely see that the biggest thing, the biggest possible hurdle for them, it's not the roster, it's not the quarterback, running back, any of that stuff. The biggest possible hurdle for the Ravens to get over, in the playoffs would be coaching. Coaching, it's been rough the past 2 years in the playoffs, and it hasn't been completely on them, but they definitely hadn't been putting the team in the best position to succeed the past 2 years in the playoffs. Now there is still a level of execution that the players have to maintain and have to get through or whatnot, but coaching has just in the past two playoffs, it's just been bad, man. It has been terrible.
Y'all should have
So
won that Chargers game. I'm telling you that. And the Titans, listen, the Titans went on a run when they first beat you. I was like, there's no way the Ravens should have lost, but the Titans low key were on a run last year. But
yeah,
Chargers, I don't know about.
yeah, that game was rough, man. Because with the Chargers game, it's like the Ravens were trying to run the same offense that they ran all year, which is understandable because that's what they did all year. But the Chargers kept stopping it. Ravens still kept running it. Chargers still kept stopping it. And they kept doing that for the first three quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, they were like, oh, you know what? Let's do something different. And then all of a sudden, they started scoring. And I was like, oh, wow. What a coincidence.
And it's weird because halftime adjustments is something they just small time coaches on. You're talking about John Harbaugh here, all right? He's one of the more experienced and has a great pedigree in the NFL compared to other guys. You would expect better.
Right. Exactly. And then this last playoff game, they had a successful formula all season long with their running game, and they incorporated the passing game in there too. And then all of a sudden, in the playoffs, they decided, you know what? We've been running the ball all year long. We broke all these records rushing the ball. Let's not even run the ball in the playoffs. Why would we do that? For what? Let's become a 90% passing team. And it was bad, man. It was really frustrating to see. I'm like, wow, why are they not? And then to even go back and look at just how much, because I was there at the game, so I didn't get I didn't even realize while I was there how much they had gotten away from themselves until like a couple days after, and I went back and looked at it and looked at the numbers and stuff. I'm like, wow, these dudes really didn't run the ball, but it is what it is, man.
You ever live stream games when you watching them?
Do do
Like
I
do you?
live stream?
Yeah, you live stream. Like basically your reaction as you're watching the game.
Yeah, I had been doing that, and
Because I was like, until you said you were actually at the game, I was like, I would be interested to see what your live reaction was, but it obviously wouldn't be possible if you're at the game.
well, no, yeah, I vlog when I go to the games. I vlog, but it's funny because somebody got mad at me because I started live streaming while I was watching the games. I started doing that in week 9 last year when the Ravens played the Patriots. So I started live streaming every game after that, and Ravens won them all. They won every single game after that, and I live streamed every single one. And then the only game that I didn't live stream was, of course, the playoff game since I was
Oh,
there.
you gotta keep with the superstitions, man. This is on you. This is on
But
you.
but now, since well, we'll see if people are allowed to go to the games or not. I don't even if people are even allowed to go to the games. I might end up just staying home anyway. I don't know, but we'll see. But that might end up just being the case this year, just live streaming all the games, and then maybe we can go all the way to the Super Bowl undefeated. Who knows? But we'll see how it all turns out, man.
For sure. And what's up to Jesse Bryan? How you doing? I see the Hey Hub with 6 exclamation marks, man. Another one of my great subs out here. So speaking of that, let's actually shift into that real quick. Do you think we should even have fans in the stands? Do you think there should be an NFL season? Because there's actually players that really feel there should not be a season this year.
I think that there should be a season. I do also think that if somebody does not feel safe, if they don't feel comfortable playing, then I don't think they should be forced to play. I don't think they should be penalized or anything like that. It should be held against them for not playing.
Well, they are working on the player opt-out plan. I saw the article on that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So excuse me. But I do think that, say for instance, if when they do have the season, if a player decides not to play this year, if they opt out, I do think that their contract should freeze to where, like, say for instance, they have 1 year left on their deal. Then since they didn't play this year, then next year when they come back, they'll still be with the same team and they still have that 1 year left on their deal. But yeah, I think it should be up to the players and whatnot. If they decide they want to go through with the season or go through with playing, cool. But for whatever players don't want to, fine, let them opt out. Because I've been seeing it with with some of the NBA players.
Yeah, what's the contract situation with the NBA players if they opt out?
I don't even know. I have no clue. No clue. That's a really good question, man.
Because of like a good amount of the league ain't playing. There's a good amount of players that opted out for the NBA. I was actually interested in that, and yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, I have no clue what it is over there. But yeah, for NFL, as far as if they should have fans in the stands, I mean, a lot of the teams have been coming out, especially over the past couple of days, and saying if there are fans allowed in the stands, then it's going to be spaced out and whatnot. And I mean, I think that's just, I don't have a problem with it, because it's like going to a grocery store. It's like going to wherever you go, because you got to go there, you got to have your mask on wherever you go, no matter where you go, and it is your choice to make that decision to go wherever you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do have fans in the stands, I don't have a problem with it because it's the fans making their decision to go to the games. But it did come out today that they would have to have their mask on, and oof, I know from it can be hot.
Not only can it be hot, but some people just straight up they rock the chin strap. They don't even rock the mask. They rock the chin strap, or they rock the nose out. It's like, just don't wear a mask if you don't do that.
That's true, man.
And by the way, Ingraven has I think special masks on your merch site or something like that. You want to talk about that? If you want to plug it real quick.
Oh yeah, my aunt, she makes masks. The website is mysecretdwelling.com. She makes customized masks, whatever fabric you're looking for, whatever pattern. If you want to put a team, you want to put whatever you want to put on there, you just let her know, and she'll take care of you, man. You can tell her IngravenVids sent you.
Exactly, man. So
Appreciate
Ingraven
it.
out here providing masks for y'all if y'all need it. But yeah, people out here rocking. Listen, man. Somebody, I forgot which NFL player it was, they were like, if fans are going to be on the stands, have them sign a waiver. I'm like, that doesn't really do anything, man. Waiver, like, unless you want for some reason there to be like legal consequences, I don't see the point in a waiver. It goes back to what you said. People are making the decisions themselves to go.
Right. With the waiver, I think the waiver serves more as a protection for the NFL because, say, for instance, somebody goes to the game and they end up catching the coronavirus, then they could be like, oh, you know what? I caught this at the NFL game, so you know what? I'm suing the NFL. But if they sign that waiver, then it's like, oh, no, if you caught it, that's not on us because you signed the waiver. That ain't got nothing to do with us anymore. So I think that the waiver just serves as the NFL's way of protecting themselves a little better.
Exactly. And Edward Chan, I do agree with that comment, man. Thank you for putting it in there. I didn't want to be rude or anything. So did you see how the NFL is not going to allow jersey swaps after the game, which is crazy considering you got dudes tackling each other and it's the most contact sports in the world? Yeah, you got that for 60 minutes, but you can't exchange a jersey at the end of the game.
Yeah, that when I saw that, it doesn't make any sense. Because, yeah, like you said, you're tackling somebody for over an hour. You're physically engaged with somebody with different people for over an hour. But something that takes less than 5 minutes after the game, post game, You can't do it. Even if you have a mask on, they already done banned it. That didn't make any sense to me, but I
Exactly, and
think
I don't think the NFL realized this. It's not like these guys wear the jerseys afterwards. Most of them either like frame it up or have it displayed somehow.
that's true. And even still, I mean, you can get it washed or whatnot. You could, even if you went over to your boy and y'all both had your mask on or whatever, but it didn't make any sense to me, man. I didn't understand that at all.
Exactly, and I guess one last thing on the whole COVID and NFL thing is that when they chopped the preseason in half, I was surprised they didn't just get rid of it completely. Not only for the sake that I think it's unnecessary this year, but also for the sake of I think I lost in thought there for a second. For them to catch up on the time they lost with the off-season training programs. So I was like, why in the world did they not just scrap the preseason and use that time? But they didn't. Then they cut it down to 2 games.
Well, they've been talking about it, about just eliminating the preseason completely. So NFLPA, the Players Association, and the NFL, they've been going back and forth for the past couple of weeks now on if they're gonna try, with the NFLPA trying to scrap the whole thing, but the NFL still wanting at least 2 games. So we'll see what happens with that soon enough. But because I mean, it got to be really soon because it's already it's almost the middle of July, and preseason will start in August. Since they obviously canceled that Hall of Fame game. But see, with preseason, it's like it's a bittersweet thing because I know a lot of people don't like preseason. Like preseason is boring. Starters aren't even playing. What's the point? Blah blah blah. But you got a lot of guys that are out there, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, undrafted rookie free agents, guys that are trying to make the teams based on the preseason. And we've seen a lot of people over the years make the teams based off of having a really good preseason performance.
Victor Cruz for Giants fans in the chat. Victor Cruz against the Jets in the preseason. That's what got him on that squad.
And then look, yeah. So it's a lot of different names that we can name, but it's that preseason is really it's a lot more important than people realize. So if they do eliminate the preseason, I expect them to, but it's gonna hurt a lot of people, a lot of undrafted rookie free agents, especially. It's just gonna hurt a lot of players. So it's gonna make it that much harder for them to make the rosters because you get less of an opportunity. Because if you just have training camp and practice and all that and that's it, then that's the only time you're going to get to show your stuff. And you may have limited opportunities in training camp and practice. But if you had the preseason too, then you have these games like the first game of the preseason where starters might play, but usually it's the backups. And then you had the second game of the preseason, same thing, but backups get the majority. And then the third game of the preseason, starters get usually a half. Some get less, some get a little more. But fourth game of the preseason is usually all backups, no starters playing whatsoever. So every game is a chance for these guys to show their stuff. But now they might not have that. So it'll be a lot of people not making the team who may have made the team on a regular year.
Exactly. Not only does it make it harder on the guys that fill out the depth chart to actually get a chance, it makes it harder on the team itself to see who's good too. Because this is as close to as a real game you're gonna get. It's like as close to the simulation as you're gonna get with a regular season game. So the coaches rely on that a lot too. But then there's the argument that preseason didn't exist for that long. It's the NFL has existed without preseason more than it has not. So I mean, what do you think about that argument and saying that, well, it has been done before for decades, that they've decided who gets on the team without this?
Well, I mean, yeah, that they probably going to end up having to be forced into that this year. But I just, yeah, because this year is obviously going to be the craziest year in not only NFL season, but just sports, period, because everything going on. So I could see this year being like an anomaly or an anomaly for recent years to where this is that standout season where, yeah, they didn't get to have a preseason. So it's going to actually benefit teams who have a lot of the same players coming back and have a lot of the same coaching staff coming back. For the teams that have new head coaches, new coordinators and whatnot, this season, it's already set them back a lot. And then it's going to force them to sort of cram last minute because they won't have the preseason game. They won't have the OTAs, the off-season activities and all that. They won't have as much of that, not nearly as much of that as they would have had because they would have been there by now. Like it's already July. They would have, yeah, they would have had the mini camps already. They would have had the rookie mini camps and all. They would have had a lot of that stuff, but
Exactly. You literally just described the Giants. Completely new coaching staff, completely new offense and defensive scheme. A lot of new players because the Giants in general, they're a young team. I think they're like top three of the youngest teams in the NFL, and honestly, the past 2 or 3 draft classes makes up like more than half of the team and whatnot. And that's why my expectations for the Giants, I'm like their ceiling at most I see them winning 6 to 7 games, but like fans shouldn't be really surprised if they come out and stink up the joint because of what you just described. I mean, as an unbiased perspective, what would your expectations for the Giants be?
mm, mm.
Considering that we
Who is
do
it?
play,
Matt Rule? No, not Matt Rule.
now we got Joe Judge.
Joe Judge.
Yeah,
Matt
considering
Rule was
that,
Panthers.
yeah, he went to the Panthers. Considering that we do play in probably the weakest division in football in the NFC East right now, we got the Redskins, who, no matter how bad we are, I always say we beat the Redskins, so I think we're going to be better than them. We got the Eagles and Cowboys, and one thing people don't realize about the Eagles actually is that I expect them to start falling off this year because they lost a lot of depth this offseason. They lost a lot of depth on the defense and even some starting players on the defense in free agency. You talk about Malcolm Jenkins and Nigel Bradham, and then they lost a lot of depth on the offensive line. And before Brandon Brooks went down, they lost a lot of depth on the offensive line. Philly right now is running just without any type of depth on both sides of the ball, so they can definitely start breaking down this year.
Um, uh, for Giants, we got Giants. You got Washington, who we'll see what their name is soon enough, what they change their name to. Yeah, and Eagles and the Cowboys. Mm. Um, yeah, new coaching staff. Uh, mm, yeah, that's a big setback. So I say maybe like 6-10.
Yeah, six. Six is definitely realistic. And in terms of DJ, Daniel Jones, well, first of all, what was your thoughts on his rookie season?
Uh, he looks solid. I felt bad for him, man. When he first got drafted, oh man, I felt bad for him because I
You,
watched all these
you know
reactions.
he went to a Yankees game and he got booed?
Really?
Like a couple weeks after he got drafted, he went to a Yankees game and he got booed. It's like the dude didn't even step onto the NFL field yet.
Jeez. Like, yeah, that's a tough market to be in. Like New York, like you gotta be tough. You gotta be thick-skinned, man, to be, especially be a quarterback in that market. And the thing that he has going against him, I know, Eli, it wasn't so pretty with Eli in the recent years, but to follow up behind Eli, um, that's it's a 2-time Super Bowl champ, and nobody can ever take that away from him, ever. So now you have to follow that, and what are you gonna do now? So with Daniel Jones, um, it's just tough, man.
I'll tell you what, though, I think we could probably agree he proved like 90% of the people wrong that was saying he shouldn't have been taken in the first round.
Yeah, he did. He did look better than expected. But I think this year, I mean, I'm sure it was last year too when he wasn't hurt. But this year, one of his best friends on the team is gonna be Saquon Barkley, man.
For sure.
Because
100%. I expect Saquon to be running to the ground this year. Like, not even joking, because Garrett is the offensive coordinator, and he loves using the running game. Exactly. I expect so with the new offense. Here's what I'm seeing. With the offensive line too, they took Andrew Thomas fourth overall, who in my opinion, like this is not even my bias coming through because when I was doing stuff to observe the college football and the mock, the NFL draft coming up, I actually had Thomas ranked as my number one tackle for about 6 months. And he kind of dropped off. I don't know how much exactly you follow like mock drafts and whatnot. He dropped off from being the number one ranked tackle, so all of a sudden not even being top four. And I attribute that to just the combine bias that people have when players have really good combines and some of them have average combines and whatnot. And so I was really happy we took him. And then we have two strong guards in Hernandez and Zeitler. And then Nate Solder, who is not a good left tackle, but I expect them to shift him to the right side. So hopefully he's at least average on the right side. And I think you got four good to average players on the offensive line there. That's way better than what we've had for the past 10 years. So I'm at least excited for the offensive line. And with that, and with Garrett, who runs the ball like 300 times a year, Saquon, the most attempts he ever got was like 260. He's never gotten 300 attempts. And with 260 and a bad offensive line, he had 1,300 yards. So I'm like, the NFL is a parody, so we got to keep that in mind. But I do expect him to have a great rushing season this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Saquon, he'll help Daniel Jones. He can help take a lot of pressure off of him.
For sure.
If you can establish that running game, then you can set up the play action, and that can make people respect the run game so much. You catch them off guard in the passing game, man, and vice versa too, man. But I didn't realize he was 24-12 last year.
Yeah, he had 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Yeah, I'm thinking back in 2014.
And actually, if you like prorate those numbers, if he did play all 16 games, he would have broken Baker Mayfield's both the yardage record and the touchdown record that Baker Mayfield held for the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's especially as a rookie, especially on the Giants
with a terrible line.
I wish I could see, because numbers don't always tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Especially at the quarterback position. I wish I could see the number of interceptions that may have been caused by drops.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot. But yeah, I mean, hey, if you build around him the right way, he'll be in a good position, man. He'll be in a good position to succeed, man. But who's your backup running back?
Dion Lewis as of right now, and then behind Dion Lewis, they got Wayne Gallman, who they took like in 2017 draft.
Dion Lewis, who used to be on the Titans and Patriots?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it was kind of weird. We were expecting them to sign somebody a bit bigger, maybe to help preserve Saquon's body, but they signed kind of more an agile receiving back. So I kind of want to see how that plays out. I was surprised by that.
That can help Daniel Jones out a lot too, man, because he can catch screens and whatever, catch passes out of the backfield. Of course, Saquon Barkley can do that too, but to have multiple guys that can do multiple things, yeah, that's special, man. And you, of course, you don't want to run Saquon Barkley into the ground because, I mean, yeah, they say nowadays running backs got a short shelf life or whatever. But to have another running back that can do some different things back there, that'll help because that's another weapon.
Exactly.
You want your quarterback to have the most weapons that they could possibly have, man. So the more weapons, the merrier, man.
For me, it all comes down to the health of the offense because I think when it comes to injuries, the recent years Giants just have not had good luck, especially with Evan Ingram. And you think about the Cowboys' offense with Garrett and how much they rely on the tight end. And if Ingram can stay healthy, and the key word is if, which is why I'm on the fence. If he can stay healthy in a Cowboys offense that relies on the tight end a lot, I think that does great things for just the offense overall. But Ingram, I really don't expect him to play more than like 8 games next year, to be honest with you.
Has he missed a lot of time over the past couple of years?
His rookie year, he played like 9. His sophomore year, he played like 7. And then last year, I think he played 6.
Jeez.
It's so weird because when he's in there, for example, Cowboys week 1 last year, he had like over 100 yards receiving and like 2 touchdowns. He's an absolute monster when he's in there. But he's never in there. He's always injured. And
that's frustrating, man.
Exactly.
And he was a first-round pick, I believe, right?
Yeah. He was, and as much as I love Ingram, he's the first-round pick I regret the most because we didn't need a tight end when they took him. We could have had Ryan Ramczyk, who's on the Saints now, one of the best right tackles in the league, and Jerry Reese, who was the GM at the time, took Evan Ingram instead of addressing the offensive line. So it was a luxury pick with a team that didn't have the luxury. You know, we had Odell at the time. We had Brandon Marshall at the time. We had Victor Cruz at the time. The weapons were good. You should have stuck to improving the O-line.
Big yikes.
Is there any in the past 5 years or so for the Ravens, any picks that you were like, we did not need it from the first round? But the Ravens have usually a good track record with these things, so it might be hard to find one.
Well, this year first round we got Patrick Queen. I say that was definitely a need.
Mm-hmm.
Because we needed more depth at linebacker. Last year first round we got Hollywood Brown. So yeah, the wide receiver is usually always a need for the Ravens. And over the years we got Marlon Humphrey. That was definitely a need. Guys,
we got Devin Dukes that says Perriman.
Now, Devin Dukes, he playing with me because you know I got love for Perry Ray, man. And of course, 2 years ago we got Hayden Hurst, tight end, and Lamar Jackson.
Is Hayden Hurst still on the team?
Nah, he's on the Falcons now. He's gonna do so good there, man.
Okay. Yeah. What'd you think about that? Did they trade him or they just let him walk?
Yeah, they traded him. They traded him for a second and a fifth round pick, or a second and a fourth. I forgot. But they traded him in a fifth rounder, I think, because they gave up Hayden Hurst in a low pick for a Falcons second round pick and a fourth, I think. But
why did they trade him? Why did they trade him?
Yeah, I would have rather them had kept Hayden Hurst, but I understood why they traded Hayden Hurst because they wanted to get some compensation. And with Hayden Hurst, he was a first round draft pick for the Ravens, and he was a starter. He was looking good. He was looking great. His hands are amazing. But then he got hurt. Mark Andrews stepped up and was never the same after that. Because Hayden Hurst was still good once he got healthy and everything, but he wasn't used like that. He didn't get many opportunities like that. And obviously Mark Andrews been doing a pretty good job. And then he is just it was a nice gesture on their part to trade Hayden Hurst, because they could have still used him because they would have still been set at tight end to have Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, and Hayden Hurst, but I guess they figured it was more worth it to get the draft picks and to get get Hayden Hurst somewhere where he would be used effectively. So Falcons was a perfect situation for him.
All right, nice.
Oh, my fault. I want to say they used that second round pick to get J.K. Dobbins, I believe. But go ahead.
And we'll see how that plays out. I was gonna say, similar situation to what happened with Evan Ingram last year. Obviously, Ingram being the injury-prone dude. When he went out, the tight end that filled in for him, Caden Smith, who the Giants signed off of waivers from the 49ers, Caden Smith filled in and actually was not that much different of an offense without Evan Ingram. Caden Smith actually proved to be a good receiving tight end. I'm not going to come out here and call him better than Ingram because I do think Ingram is better. But Smith was more than reliable. He was it was more than good enough, which is part of the reason a lot of fans is like, why haven't we traded Ingram yet? They're like, other than the fact that there needs to be a trade partner, but they're like, we have somebody in Caden Smith that actually gets the job done and gets it done well. So is that the similar feeling you had with Mark Andrews when he filled in for Hayden Hurst?
Yeah, because we're especially with Ravens, because they run all these 2 tight end sets, sometimes even 3 tight end sets, but they use their tight end so much, so it's a nice, not even a luxury. You can say luxury, but you can say luxury. I guess it's a nice luxury to have 3 starting tight ends, 3 starting
or starting caliber tight ends.
Yeah, on the team, and now we only have 2, and behind them behind Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle is a question mark, but I'm sure they'll get that figured out soon enough. But with your situation, with Evan Ingram, it's like it's got to be like being stuck between like a rock and a hard place, because it's like, man, with Evan, we got another tight end that stepped up, and nothing changed much. But at the same time, and it's like, oh, well, should we get rid of Evan Ingram since he's been hurt so much? But at the same time, you love having multiple tight ends, because just in case somebody does get hurt.
Exactly.
You love having multiple tight ends for the 2 tight end sets. You love having multiple tight ends just for depth, man. And quality depth too. You got a first round draft pick as well, not necessarily as a depth guy, but as one of those tight ends. So it's like the more the merrier, and especially when the more is quality, not just quantity.
Exactly. And Bronx B Squad, I'll get to that question. What is up to Lestat? I did see the DeAndre Baker news. What is up to Kid Blue RB27 in the chat? Kid Blue, the guy that I run the Young Guns podcast with, a good friend of mine. What's up, Kid Blue? If you guys haven't checked his channel out, go over there and check it out. Kid Blue, have you heard of the DeAndre Baker news, by the way? Apparently, dude is out here paying hush money to the people that he robbed, and I fully expect him to be cut by the Giants if that's proven true. And the key phrase, if it's proven true, because for all we know, this could be fake news. I mean, it's just the reality of the world right now. This could be fake. But in response to Lestat, that was like the second thing we talked about. We were talking about Mahomes, and then I got informed that Baker was out here paying hush money, and yeah, I wasn't happy, man. I mean, if it's true, I don't want him on the team because he's really going through like some like legitimate like American gangster type stuff to save his career when you just made a really dumb decision. You shouldn't have been saving your career in the first place, man. But yeah. Devin Duke says Ingram kind of sounds like Jimmy Smith. I'm guessing a Ravens player. Is there a little context to that?
Cornerback, yeah, because with Jimmy Smith, he's such a great cornerback, man. He beast of a cornerback, but he would just always be hurt. That's his problem, man. He would always be hurt. He's a first round pick, amazing player, but he would just miss so many games due to injury. So, it is what it is. This is his last year with the team, though, now, man.
In terms of contract, they're not going to sign him back?
Yeah, I don't expect him to, because he's, how old is he? I think he's 30.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's all you need to say. That's all you need to say.
Still good, though, but he finished this last season. He just finished the fourth year of a 4-year extension, or the last year of his 4-year extension. There was a 4-year, $40 million extension. Mm-hmm. So he became a free agent. So Ravens let him test the market. He gets nobody bit like that. But then Ravens signed him back to a 1-year deal for I think it's up to $6 million, but the base was like 3.6 million, something crazy low. But that gave me all signs and indications that this is the last year, and I don't expect them to give him an extension or re-sign him again after this year.
Okay.
I do love him, though.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was working, one of the videos that I'm almost finished working on to drop tomorrow is players the Giants could look into trading for, right? And I was like, wow, it's actually really hard to find these because there's not that many players that you could trade for. There's not many positions in need. And then this Baker news comes out, and I'm like, I should have waited a day more, and I would have had a position to tackle for that video because I really struggled with that video. I was like, ah, man, hey, maybe Jimmy Smith ends up on the Giants as a veteran presence. Who knows? But what can you tell me? Do you know anything about Marcus Golden of the Giants, Ingraven?
Oh, that's a 10-sack guy, man, who's still a free agent right now.
10.5 sacks for the Giants last year. You still got people arguing that it was all scheme sacks. Listen, I definitely agree that's a thing, but you don't get 10.5 sacks just because of the scheme. And then there's even people arguing there was coverage sacks. I'm like, the Giants had terrible secondary last year, so I don't know what coverage sacks you're talking about. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit that he deserves. He's a dude that, for the first time since 2014 for the Giants, got 10 sacks. And the first linebacker since LT for the Giants to get 10 sacks, actually. So I'm like, he doesn't get enough respect that he actually deserves. Because after LT, they switched to the 4-3, and then it became defensive ends. So that's why they say first linebacker. So I'm like, he does not get the respect he deserves. And he's still a free agent, man. What do you think about Marcus Golden?
I don't even think it's his fault that he's a free agent still. Because both him, Everson Griffin, Clay Matthews, Terrell Suggs, there's quite a few free agent pass rushers and guys with some names.
And I think he's the youngest out of all the dudes just listed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But it's all Jadeveon Clowney's fault. Jadeveon Clowney is a guy that he's the market, the free agent pass rush market is waiting on him. So all those guys have suffered because I think everybody just wants to see what's going down with Jadeveon Clowney, what's going to happen with him, and then after that, then those guys might get picked. But it's like now it's even harder for them because most teams are at 90-man rosters.
Exactly.
So
and especially with the situation right now. And by the way, I hope you're back, Jesse. See you later. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, it's sad because the reason he came to the Giants in the first place was like, I want to have a prove-it year so I could actually get the bag when I have that prove-it year. He proved himself. Giants signed him on a $3 million contract, 10-sack season. I think that earns you at least $10 million a year, just in my opinion. I think he earned at like around a $10 million a year contract based off his performance this year. And then it's like, he's not going to get it because they put that weird tender on him. I don't know if you know about that. They put a weird tender on him where it's like...
Which one?
That's the thing. I don't even remember the name. It's like...
Was it a low round tender?
I'll explain the what it actually does, and maybe you'll get the name of it. Basically, you have until July 22nd for any team to negotiate and sign him to a deal. If by July 22nd that doesn't happen, then he comes back to the Giants for just 10% more than what he was earning last year. So we got a 10-sack guy coming back for $4 million.
Oh, so he's, I guess, well, kind of still a Giant then. I didn't know that.
Exactly.
I thought he was just like a straight up
He's
free agent.
he's still free to negotiate with anybody. Anybody could sign him, and then he's free to go. But yeah, he's basically gonna end up being a Giant again.
So man, that's crazy. How
Which was a smart move on Dave Gettleman's part. And that, I mean, he doesn't get Gettleman makes a lot of stupid decisions when it comes to free agency, but that was a smart move on his part.
I gotta look that up because I never heard of that before. Because I know about the restricted free agent tenders.
I think this might be the unrestricted free agent tender, if that's a thing.
Yeah, I gotta do more research on that then to see exactly what that is. Man, that's crazy.
Exactly.
But what usually with the tenders though, like for example, if you place a first round tender on a player and they get signed to the offer sheet and and your team doesn't match, then that player goes to the new team and then you get their first round pick back. Now for Marcus Golden, would he?
If he signs with another team, I think we're getting either a third or a fourth round pick in return.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a Giant.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I really do feel sorry for him because I mean, do you think he earned those 10 sacks? Let's just talk about the sack numbers. Or do you think it was scheme or what? What do you think about those arguments?
I would have to sit down and watch it because I'm not sure, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about his game. I'm naive to how he plays and how he got the sacks. I would have to like sit down and watch the plays where he did get those 10.5 sacks.
If you do look at one game, I'll tell you this: look at the Patriots game, and he looked like an absolute monster in the Patriots game. It was by far his best game last year. He had like a strip sack fumble, returned it for a touchdown. He was just unstoppable in that Patriots game, and that's one of the games I point out when I argue against people saying it was a scheme. I'm like, when you perform like that against, a top-tier team, there's definitely something there. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the fact he's coming off of the ACL injury, and he got injured in 2017. He returned in 2018, but with ACL injuries, I think you and I both know it takes around 2 years for any athlete to recover. So the second year of his recovery just so happened to be with the Giants in 2019, where he was with the scheme that he had success with before. So it's kind of like a lot of things lining up. So I'm like, I think anybody knows ACL injuries, it's not a 1 year recovery, it's like 2 years. So I think that lined up with the fact that he was with that blitzing scheme again kind of led it to be what happened.
Well, I think that makes everything make even more sense then. If he had an ACL injury 2 or 3 years ago now, but 2.5 years ago, 2017, I could understand why Giants might be hesitant then. They were like, oh, you know what, let's see if he's fully recovered. Yeah, he had a good season last year, and he bounced back from the ACL. It's been 2 years or whatever, but we don't want to invest in him yet. Let's just give it one more go.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the investment will come afterwards. But let's see, man, because I know teams, when you have that, I mean, it all depends on the player too, but when you have that injury, it all depends on the player, because Carson Wentz, he got his $100 million deal, and he certainly had injury problems.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles still invested in him, so it all just depends on the player, man.
And kind of in some ways, similar situation with the Ravens. What's going to happen with Matt Judon and the fact that the Ravens franchise tagged him? Is there any type of talk still going on, or are they still at a stalemate? I know they've been at a stalemate for a while now.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything recently between Ravens and Matt Judon. The way that it's been seeming is like, it seems like they'll sign him to an extension, but I could also see him playing this year out on the franchise tag, because with Matt Judon, he's been getting better every year. But I think what they're waiting on is just to really see this guy be consistent, game in, game out. Obviously, he's not going to have a great game for 16 games out of the season. That'd be nice, but players just don't do that.
Would you be surprised if whether it's a cut or more realistically a trade if the Ravens trade him away? Because I wouldn't be surprised, but once again, you're the Ravens fan here. Would you be surprised if that goes down?
At this point of the season, yes, I would be, because since he's on the franchise tag. It is what is it, about 16.5 mil, something like that.
Yeah, it's around 16 mil, the franchise tag.
Because they but it's a lot of signs that point to them extending him, because he's an outside linebacker, and
Oh, really? I thought he was listed at defensive end.
So that's the thing. He's listed as an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
So their franchise tag was a little under 16 mil, but then for D ends, it was over. So what the Ravens and Matt Judon did, they came to an agreement to pay him right in the middle. So with them doing that and them not fighting about it, them not going back and forth, the situation not getting ugly, it just makes it seem like they're gonna sign him to an extension. If I was them, I would probably wait one more year, because he can do different things. He's an outside linebacker. He can drop back in coverage and whatnot. And
I agree with you. I think you need to see another year from him, because it's not like what I've read. And once again, you're the one that covers this, so you can correct me on anything. What I've read is that he was demanding top-tier money. And maybe that's just a negotiation tactic, because, when you negotiate, you start off high and then you get down to the price you really want. But what I've read is that he wanted 18 to 20 mil a year. And I'm like, Judon is good, but he's not great. I'm not giving you that money. So what's the situation there with the amount of money he was demanding?
Yeah, I had heard the same thing too. But yeah, like you said, that's what the agents are there to do, man. They are there to get the most money for their clients. But I cannot see the Ravens paying him no 18 to 20 mil per.
Bro, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Even the tag right now, 16 mil, I think is a little bit above his pay grade. I think he's probably like more of like a $14 million type dude a year. But once again, getting back down to if this year he has another, not good, but he has a great season. He had a good season last year with what it was either 9 or 9.5 sacks.
9.5.
If he breaks into the double digit type numbers, then he'll probably get that around that 16 million type deal.
I don't think he's that's what I say. I think they should just wait it out, man. Because I don't think he's that dude yet. He got potential, but I don't think he's that dude yet. Because he's still got a ways to go. And for me, with Judon, I like him. I think there can be a lot of disappearance sometimes. And he's not that game-wrecking pass rusher like that. But one thing that is in his favor, not one thing, but multiple things.
Yeah, he's still very young.
That's a good point. He's been healthy. But also what the Ravens put around him. They got Calais Campbell this year. They got Derek Wolfe this year. All the same secondary is coming back. So the secondary can help the pass rush because they can cover for longer, give you more opportunities. But really what they put around him on that defensive line, man. So that should help Matt Judon a lot. So that's why I feel like they should wait, because now it can be like, okay, Judon, we gave you all this stuff around you. We put all these good players around you. Now let's see what you do. Show us what you can do, and then we'll talk in a year.
Part of the reason I also brought up Judon, I guess this might be a spoiler for any of my subs in here, is that the vid I was talking about, players that the Giants could potentially look into trading for, Matt Judon was one of them. I have him on the list, and that's why I past couple of days I've been doing a good amount of research on him. I'm like, exactly what you're saying is what I'm thinking. I'm like, he's good. He's not game breaker yet, so I would not give him that amount of money, but he's good. He's young. You talk about pass rushers that play in the league for like 15 to 20 years. Mans has only been in the league for around 4 to 5. He's got a ton left, man. He got a ton of potential.
Right.
And then the same thing what you said, the defensive line that the Ravens now have, at least for the Giants, it's obviously me fantasizing here. The Giants have a really good defensive line. You talk about Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, and Dalvin Tomlinson. They got a strong defensive line. That's the same thing I said. I was like, he'll be helped out by that too. So, hey man, Matt Judon is definitely somebody that I'm looking forward to see how his story would turn out. I see a Ravens fan commented that if Judon leaves, I'm confident in Tyus Bowser and Jalen Ferguson. What do you think about that?
Well, Bowser, yeah, I think Bowser, the biggest thing with him He just hasn't had the opportunity because he's always been behind somebody as long as he's been with the Ravens. Because he's also somebody. He's like similar to Judon to where he can drop back, he can pass rush, he can do multiple things. But when he's got his opportunity, he's a very efficient player because he doesn't get many opportunities. But when he does get opportunities, he does well. With Jalen Ferguson, he's more the defensive end because he's more the hand in the ground. Defensive end. He was very raw last year, and he wasn't supposed to get as much playing time as he did. But we had a veteran in front of him, Pernell McPhee, who ended up getting hurt. He got a triceps injury, and he missed the rest of the season. So Jalen Ferguson, who was a rookie last year, he ended up having to get a lot more playing time. And that ended up helping him in the long run because a lot of times early on he was looking lost and he was looking confused and stuff, and just it was not a mess, but over the year, he got a lot better and looked a lot more comfortable. And I mean, he was a rookie, so we got to cut him that slack. But with Jalen Ferguson, I'm hoping in this second year and him being able to learn from guys in front of him like Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, and whatnot. I think this year could be a lot better for him, and especially as a learning year, as a take-in year. And Pernell McPhee's back too. So he got three quality veterans, three good veterans that are in front of him. That he can have the opportunity to learn from, and then when he gets on the field to execute whatever they taught him, and of course what he learns from coaching as well. Man.
Exactly. And Edward Chan saying Leonard Williams wants $20 million. I made a video on that. Leonard Williams is a good defensive lineman, but he's not a $20 million a year defensive lineman. I was like, he's on some type of drugs if he thinks he's worth $20 million a year. This dude had half a sack last year. I'm going to leave it at that. He had half a sack last year. He's really good in the run game. And I expect him to have more than half a sack this year because I'm going to just attribute that to the fact that the man was traded from the Jets to the Giants. I'm going to just say that was bad coaching because there's a reason we fired the entire coaching staff. I definitely expect...
franchise tag him?
We franchise tagged him, yeah, which I didn't like. I don't like the fact that we franchise tagged him because I thought we could... I don't know. I don't think he's worth that franchise tag because now he's going to be on here for around $16 million for a year, and then there's the whole decision on whether or not they're going to extend him. Really all depends on the type of season he has this year. I'm not giving him $20 million. At most, I'm giving him probably $14 million a year. But I got to give him credit, though. Last year, he was double-teamed around 64% of the time when he was on the field. So that plays into a lot of things. It plays into maybe why he had a lot of QB pressures, but just half a sack. Plays into why he had a lot of QB hits. Actually, by PFF, I was surprised when I saw this. By PFF, Leonard Williams had the most QB hits in the league. And I was surprised when I saw that. I was like, that makes no sense because the dude had a half a sack. But then I saw the fact that, he was double-teamed so much and whatnot. And because he was double-teamed, it allowed Dexter Lawrence to have the rookie season that Dexter Lawrence had and whatnot. So I do expect better things, but not $20 million a year.
So that would make sense then why they franchise tagged him, especially with y'all getting a whole new coaching staff. Because they might be like, okay, he did his thing in this previous coaching staff. Was good, maybe not great, but like you said, all the double teams, so that helped other people around him. But before we invest in this guy, before you truly invest in him, let's see what he can do in this new scheme and see how he performs in this new scheme. Because with the franchise tag, it is a heavy investment, but it's only an investment for that 1 year. So worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, okay, we're done. That's it. Didn't work out for this year. Appreciate you, thank you, but we're going in a different direction. Then, of course, best case scenario, you end up giving them an extension or another franchise tag and then an extension or whatever. But
Dak. By the way, what's your thoughts on that? Since I'm an NFC head over here, Dak getting franchise tag, 2 years in a row now? And really, the Cowboys just fumbling that whole situation. And if I'm Dak, I don't even want to go back to the Cowboys. I just play out this year and find another team because it's clear that they don't hold me in the regard that I would hold myself. You talk about getting delayed that contract so much. What's your opinion on that?
With Jerry Jones, he seems to like to wait to the last minute to do a lot of these long-term deals, man. I think Jerry Jones likes Dak Prescott. I don't think he necessarily loves him, though.
And the thing is, I want to add into that. Usually with Jones and just players that he likes, they usually reciprocate that and have a good relationship with him. Dak Prescott is the only player in the Cowboys right now that doesn't have like that type of active relationship with Jerry Jones.
Right, exactly, man. So I think that could be a big part of the holdup since Dak Prescott is not one of Jerry's boys. So he's probably like, we're gonna take our time with this thing, and then you know what? Yeah, let's franchise tag him, see how it works out or whatever. And they did get Andy Dalton too, and so I remember when they first signed Andy Dalton, there were a lot of people saying, "Hey, rescind the tag, let Dak Prescott walk."
I admit I was one of those people, but that's because I'm a Cowboys hater.
With Dak Prescott, I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. I think he'll remain a Cowboy. And
long term though, long term.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay. I really. I don't know, but if you are Dak, are you not just a little bit ticked off? You're like 2 years now.
You gotta be because the franchise tag is nice. It's that upfront money.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice because it's the average of the top 5 salary players at your position. You got that, and it's fully guaranteed. So it ain't like, oh well, we're gonna pay you this, but if this happens, then you're not gonna get it. No, it's fully guaranteed. So that part is nice, but there are no benefits. It's like having a temporary job where you're making some real good money, but it's only temporary, and you don't have any long-term benefits, anything like that. So with Dak Prescott, it's got to be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, he is making plenty of bread. What was he, a 4th round pick when he got
Yeah,
drafted?
he was. I'll tell you what, he earned his new contract. It's kind of the same thing I say for Chris Jones. They both earned their new contracts. I'm just not sure if they earned what they're demanding.
Oh, Chiefs?
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Chris Jones, in my opinion, is definitely like a top 5 defensive tackle at this point in the NFL. But it's the market. The market is he's probably going to get paid Aaron Donald money. I just don't think he's worth Aaron Donald money.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, you 100% earned your new contract. I'm just not sure if you earned what you want.
I don't think that. Well, if he's counting about a little over 16.
No, he's on the
franchise tag.
Yeah, he's on the franchise tag. I think it's like also around 16. It's in the 16 to 18 range.
So, but if they extended him, then that cap hit will come down. Because when you on a franchise tag, that fully guaranteed is that cap hit. So he's taking up 16 mil of the cap. If he got an extension from the Chiefs, then yeah.
And obviously with the whole Mahomes situation, it's come back up as to whether or not they can actually extend them because
right.
Nobody fully knows the long term cap hits for the Mahomes contract right now.
Man. Yeah, they got some problems over there. It's good problems to have because they coming off a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I would certainly take it on my team too. If we had all these good players and we just had to figure out ways to keep and pay and who we gonna let go, whatever. But well, yeah, I love Chris Jones, man. He actually when I watched it live, he was actually the person that I thought should have got the MVP for the Super Bowl win.
Oh really? I thought it should have 100% been the running back. Damian
Williams.
I thought it should have been him. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown, I think.
He was. The Chiefs were by like 2 or 3 quarters were really running the offense through him instead of running it through Mahomes, in my opinion.
But yeah, I really thought it should have been. And yeah, usually defensive players they don't get those they don't get the sexy awards or whatever. The MVP, they're not gonna get a defensive player no Super Bowl MVP. Well, usually I know Malcolm Smith got it with the Seahawks, I think.
And Von Miller too, right?
Who?
Von Miller? Yeah.
Oh, with the Panthers, in the Panthers game, Panthers Broncos. So it's rare. But yeah, I thought that initially when I watched the Super Bowl, I thought that he should have got because he's very disruptive, man. He is very, very, very disruptive, man.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather have Chris Jones on a franchise tag than Leonard Williams right now. 100%. And Havoc, I've seen Havoc ask this question a couple of times. He said, what is the Giants community opinion on Joe Judge? I'll tell you what, it's very similar to the whole Daniel Jones thing. I feel like Giants fans just don't know how to react properly. At first, when they signed him, they were freaking out. They're like, who is this dude? A nobody from New England. He was the special teams coach for New England and whatnot. And then last year, he was the special teams and wide receivers coach for New England. They're like, who is this guy? What they fail to realize, and what it seems that they're realizing now, is that, and this is obviously me building a case for him, you worked under Belichick, the greatest NFL coach of all time, and you worked under Nick Saban when he was at the college level. When Joe Judge worked for Alabama, worked under Nick Saban. Both Bill Belichick and Nick Saban have come out and said he's going to be a great head coach. And the move that the Patriots made last year is a move that coaches, teams make when they expect their coach to move on to a bigger job. That is, give him an extra an extra responsibility by putting the wide receivers coach onto his resume. They do that a lot when they expect you to move on to bigger things. So I was like, that's a good sign from Belichick from a year before. He's like, he expects this dude to eventually get to a bigger job. I don't think he expected head coach right away. Maybe like, I don't know, defensive, offensive coordinator or something. But he tacked on the extra responsibility, I think, to help Judge out. And then there's the fact that like people were ranting on the fact that he's just a special teams guy. I'm like, I actually pointed out, your head coach. I'm like, Harbaugh was a special teams coach before he was a head coach. And it was a very similar reaction when the Ravens hired him, and people were saying he's a nobody. And then there's like a couple different just crazy arguments, saying how the Giants were racist because they took Joe Judge over Eric Bieniemy and whatnot. And I'm just like, that's just the media being the media. But I have faith in Judge because one thing, when he spoke, I have more faith in him than I did Pat Shermer, the previous head coach, because Shermer was very lackadaisical in the way he spoke. He seemed like he wasn't a strict dude. Judge looks like a completely no-nonsense type of dude, which is why I expect Baker to be cut after this came out. Like, I 100%, if that's true, I expect Baker to be cut. Judge is completely no-nonsense and all that. And where he's coming from, it should be good things, but we won't know until we see it. So that was kind of my long-winded explanation of the Giants community opinion on Joe Judge right now.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to Havoc. I didn't even know Havoc was in here, man. What's up, Havoc? What's going on, man?
But yeah, I guess from what I just said, your initial thoughts on Judge? I guess just based off what I just said.
I mean, that... I don't know why when you talked about Pat Sherman being lackadaisical when he spoke. I don't know why it reminded me of the Adam Gase, the press conference when his eyes were with the Jets.
Pat Shermer's nickname in New York was Snoopy because he always looked like he was sleeping when he was talking.
Oh, that's wild, man. But I mean, with Judge, if you can talk a good game, but it just you got to show it. Mm-hmm. It's all about what you show. But one thing, I didn't know he was under Saban too. So that kid, the company that you keep, when you're coming up in the ranks, that can really have a huge impact on your mindset. Because if you, say for instance, you were on a bunch of losing teams, then you could be okay with losing, you could be cool with losing. Yeah, okay, losing, we don't want to lose, but if we lose, okay, it is what it is, no problem. But if he was under Nick Saban, who literally does nothing but win, and then under Belichick, who 99% of the time they just win, then that mindset is contagious, and he can carry that with him to the Giants now. So now he can build the roster how he wants to build it. Like another example of that is Brian Flores. Oh, he did? Yeah, because with Brian Flores, he obviously came from the Patriots and whatnot, and he inherited a team with the Dolphins last year. They weren't a good team. They weren't a good team. Everybody thought they would go 0-16, 1-15, 2-14, something along those lines. But the way that this guy, and for him to be able to rally a bad team, especially toward the end of the season, and they still fight for him, and they like put in that work for him. That says a lot. And now this past offseason, they made a lot of different moves to bolster that roster. So I expect the Dolphins to be a lot better than they were last year, this year. But really next year, I expect them to really take a jump, man. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how it goes, though, man.
I mean,
Brian Flores, I like him a lot, man.
Part of the reason Miami is getting so much hype is not just because what the free agency and the draft is, because Flores, like you said, he did magic with a trash team, to put it lightly. He did magic with a team that everybody expected to tank for Tua, and while they did end up with Tua, everybody expected them to go like 0-16. Magic with it. Imagine what he could do with now a better just roster overall. So for sure. And I am coming up on the time limit that I have here, which is kind of sad because I didn't even get to talk WWE a little bit. Ingraven mentioned to me that he was at one point a WWE fan. So just to switch into that for the very last topic of tonight, man. I guess when were you a fan of the WWE and whatnot?
Oh man, growing up, when it was still WWF,
Mm-hmm.
Undertaker, he had always been my favorite, for forever now, and but just recently, I noticed over the past, was it like probably after WrestleMania 33.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I felt like the product had just started dying and dying and dying down, and
For me, it was after WrestleMania 30, and then I got back into it just this year, which is surprising because now it's declining again because of obvious situations.
Yeah, and even I feel like even before before they didn't have any crowd there, because I mean that like, ooh, that hurts it bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know now they have a lot of people from like NXT and stuff, and from the performance, and they have them in the crowd as fans and whatever. But just the quality of the product it has started like going downhill in a major way, and it just made me feel like somebody who I was like, man, I wasn't always the biggest fan of him, but when he was gone, I was like, hold up, this is around the time when the product like really got bad.
Can I guess who it is?
I'm sure you know who it is.
Because I think I might have very similar feelings. You talking about John Cena?
Yes.
Yeah. I think like everybody at one point was a fan of Cena, and then they started to hate him or dislike him, and then he's gone, and they realized, wow, he was really carrying the company for a while.
Mm-hmm. He did, like, and it's crazy, right? When he left, like, it went downhill. And they did have their good moments here and there, but it just got so bad, man. It just got so bad to where that was one of the only reasons that I would even keep cable TV was to watch Raw, but then I was like, this ain't good, so I don't even need to keep cable anymore. And I like before, the only thing that I would watch would be like the events and stuff, like the pay-per-views and whatever. And I still watch. No, I didn't even watch the whole WrestleMania. This WrestleMania, I just watched the John Cena and Bray Wyatt match.
And the Undertaker match.
The Taker and AJ Styles match, and
I love what they did with those matches, man. In that case, when they were backed into a corner, they responded like how the company used to do in the old days when they backed into a corner. They just produced golden matches.
Mm-hmm. And I like the I loved how they did those, man. Especially I actually like the Bray Wyatt and John Cena one better because I like the storytelling that they did in that one.
Mm-hmm.
But they just sometimes they do some things where it's like, what are you doing and what's the point? They just do a lot of head scratching stuff. And like with Bray Wyatt, he could have been. I mean, they actually told that story during the Bray Wyatt and John Cena match at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, how they messed up his first run.
Yeah. Now like, how long ago? I think maybe 5 years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, I started having more of an appreciation for the business though. Once I started like knowing more behind the scenes stuff, like about contracts, like about wrestlers being unhappy with different situations and stuff. I love how they have those different documentaries and stuff. I love those.
Oh, speaking of documentaries, the recent Undertaker documentary was great. I don't know if you got to saw it yet.
I didn't finish it. I finished chapter 2. I think it's 5 chapters, right?
Yeah, it's like 5. All 5 of them are great.
Yeah, I gotta finish the last 3, man. Cause I love those. I love the ones that they did of the rest of WrestleMania, like behind the scenes and stuff. Yeah, I just love those because it shows you how they are outside of wrestling, and that's got to be really hard because you, as a wrestler, you maintain this image and you're playing this role as this character and whatnot.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'll tell you what. I think that's part of the reason why they couldn't build new stars. You know, we were talking about how Cena really carried the company, and there's a lot of reasons as to why they can't build new stars. But part of it is definitely because not everybody knows. You know, it's kayfabe and all that. I feel like the stars don't take it serious to the point where they actually try to keep in character when they're not in the business, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm gonna use Undertaker as an example, and he's like an extreme example, obviously, like the dude that was always in character for every single second of his 20-year career, whether he was online or he was offline or he was in public or whatnot. You don't have to take it to that extent, but at least pretend that it's somewhat real. I think that's part of the reason why they couldn't really build new stars.
Yeah, that could be one. But something else that hurt them is the internet. Internet hurt not only kayfabe, but just with surprises, because that
you talk about the amount of returns.
Yeah, the element of surprise in wrestling has been eliminated for the most part. There's some stuff where they get away with a tiny bit, but like with Matt Hardy, when his contract ran out with WWE and they killed him off, I think the Randy Orton was beating him with a chair, whatever.
Yeah. Everybody knew he was going to AEW.
Yeah, they knew he was going to AEW. They were like, oh, it's just a matter of time and whatnot. And Matt Hardy even started building his own storyline on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
With what are those two guys?
Young Bucks, right?
There we go, Young Bucks. There we go.
And by the way, I'm a huge fan. I love what AEW has done since they came onto the scene.
Yeah, they've been doing that thing. But yeah, the element of surprise is just it's gone, and that was a huge thing with wrestling. That was one of the best parts about wrestling, when it was you got a surprise, you got something that you didn't know was coming. And sometimes, I don't know about recently, but over the past couple of years, there's been a few times when WWE there'll be something that's super expected, and then WWE they'll do a swerve. They'll be like, oh, okay.
31 Seth Rollins. Ain't nobody's, because everybody was expecting Reigns to walk home with it. Nobody liked it, and then Rollins runs in.
That was one of my favorite moments.
Really, my next question was gonna be, what's your favorite surprise and what's your favorite return? Since you just gave me your favorite surprise, what was like your favorite return?
One of my favorite returns was
doesn't even
Boys coming back.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was about to say it doesn't even have to be recent. Could be from years ago.
Because I had went to that WrestleMania 33, and just being there, it was like crazy. Because the weird, not even the weird thing, but the thing is that I had, even though I would still read all the rumors and stuff and the dirt sheets and whatnot. I would still read those. So I knew the Hardy Boys were coming back to WWE, and they had just had a crazy ladder match the night before.
Yeah, that's why nobody expected it at WrestleMania. I forgot if it was at Ring of Honor or some other production, but exactly the night before they were involved in a match.
Yeah, but they still ended up coming back, and it was crazy. So that one, and what else? I'm trying to think of anything recently.
Doesn't necessarily have to be recently. Could be from years ago.
Anytime Undertaker would come back, I would love it. Who else? When The Rock made his appearances, it was...
I was about to say 2011 when Rock returned for the whole Cena rivalry. That was a good one for me. My favorite of all time is probably 02 Triple H. And the reason, and people might say, oh my god, you're too young for that, is because I had WWE Network at one point, and I legitimately spent a whole year watching through the Attitude Era as though it was happening in real time. And so I actually got into the mindset for when 02 Triple H return came up. So that's why it's one of my favorites. And Edge 2010 and Edge 2020. Edge 2010 and Edge 2020, two of my favorite returns also.
See that one too. That one they went crazy. I think that was Royal Rumble in Houston, I think. But they were loud, man. That place went wild.
For which one? For both of them, they were.
For Edge of 2020.
Yeah, it was Minute Maid Park. I think that's the Astros, Houston Astros. I think that's their park. Nobody expected it.
It wasn't a return, but it was a debut. One of my favorite debuts ever for WWE. It was WWF back then. Was Chris Jericho when he first came in, because they don't really do this much anymore. But another one of my favorite returns was Bray Wyatt too, the new Bray Wyatt. But with Chris Jericho, they were building this thing up for weeks, and that's what they used to do back in the day. They were on Attitude Era and stuff. They used to build up storylines for weeks, sometimes months. But for this one, it was just this countdown that would come on the screen.
Even in the Ruthless Aggression era, they would do that. They just don't do it anymore. Talk about when Jericho returned, I think in 2007 or 8, and the whole Save Me campaign thing was going on. They were running that for weeks too.
But yeah, I think they don't. I think one of the reasons why they don't do it now is because of the internet. Because everything is gonna get ruined, and everybody's gonna know what's coming. So I know sometimes it's like I feel like it's almost lazy to a point, because I wish they would just almost just even put some stories out. I know they do it a little bit, but where they would put some stories out, let some stuff leak, so to speak, just so it would be out there, and then that ends up not being what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But now I don't watch it anymore. I unfollowed a couple of the wrestling accounts I used to follow on Twitter, and I still keep up with whatever I see on Twitter, whatever I see. Like I saw Keith Lee won the NXT title the other day.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I really like Adam Cole, man. I really like Adam Cole and Keith Lee, man. But yeah, I just don't watch it anymore, because I still play the games though. Like, I got 2K, I think 20.
I was gonna say, don't tell me it was 20, because 20 was like the worst one they ever made.
Yeah, it was super glitchy. It was super glitchy.
I got 2K19, and then I recently got a 360 emulator on my PC to play SmackDown vs. Raw 07, because that's like my favorite of all time.
You should try to play No Mercy one day, man.
People tell me about No Mercy and Here Comes the Pain a lot.
Yeah, man. The Nintendo 64, that was a good stuff back then. But yeah, it's just not the same for me anymore. Like it got to a point where I remember watching Raws, like even back like not even that long ago, like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember being excited for it all day and watching the whole thing through.
Yo, for me, SmackDown in 2016 was the last like really good time for WWE for me personally. SmackDown 2016 when AJ came on, and then they had just a bunch of people just showing out that nobody expected to show out. You know, like Alexa Bliss had her career year that year. Yeah, The Miz, I think that's when I started really respecting The Miz. I never really respected The Miz before until that year. Yeah, man, that was it for me.
Yeah, but I remember Raw, I used to enjoy watching it, but then it just felt like punishment, just watching the whole thing through. And then I remember there'll be these episodes where I'll be like, man, did I really just waste 3 hours watching this? Because I would be hoping and waiting for something to happen. And usually, like, the first 15 minutes was good. I end up enjoying the talking, like the opening segments more than the majority of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I don't even watch anymore. Like, even like for the events, I think they just recently had, what was it, Extreme Rules a couple weeks ago?
I don't even know why they still having it, man. But yeah, they had Extreme Rules a couple, or was it Money in the, or I don't know. It was either Money in the Bank or Extreme Rules.
Money in the Bank was like, I think, a month and a half ago. I caught like the very end of it or something, but then I think the last one they had was, I think the one coming up is Backlash. So the last one I think they had was Extreme Rules, but I ain't watched it at all. Like, I didn't have any like motivation or excitement to watch it at all. I know SummerSlam is coming up. I believe they had to delay it a little bit, but I might check it out. I'll see, but I probably won't. I probably just might like look at whatever on Twitter and whatnot. But beyond that, it's just not the same for me anymore. It doesn't hit like it used to me.
Exactly, I agree with you, and it doesn't even. The thing is, it doesn't even need to hit like it used to in its prime. It just needs to be good. Like, it's just not a good product anymore. You know what I mean? Like, kind of once again referencing like 2016 SmackDown for me. 2016 SmackDown was not great when you compare it to stuff like Ruthless Aggression and Attitude Era, but it was good, which is why it stands out. Like, to be honest, in the second half of this decade a lot, because hasn't been a lot of good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Ingraven, thank you for coming on, man, running just about the 2 hour time limit that I had, man. Thank you so much for coming on, talking Ravens, Giants, NFL, and WWE. Guys, if you're not subscribed or you don't know about him, go into the description box. His links are there. Check him out. And any last words, Ingraven?
I appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.